King's Country, kingscountry.net is the Jim King thing. Thanks for listening on a TGIF edition. That means we're going to preview the Jim King of the TV show, Part 6, and the grand conclusion of my exclusive with the legendary Pat Boone. I'll give you a little sample of that audio. It's kind of like a documentary-style episode, in the beginning anyway. Lots of other great stuff in this Jim King of the TV show. We'll talk about that, but back to the radio and Travis Tritt on King's Country. Good morning.
You say you were wrong to ever leave me alone.
King's Country, kingscountry.net. Jim King of the radio and TV, driving you through the 11 o'clock hour on a TGIF edition. Oh, and looky here. Here comes my buddy Justin Moore. Had the pleasure of meeting him when he first broke on the scene in the early 2000s, and that explains why, you guessed it, I'm having a fabulous flashback. Hold on.
King of the road.
Backstage in Beaumont with Justin Moore.
From Arkansas. I grew up in a little town called Poe, and there's about 300 people. And
272.
272 is what the sign says. I wouldn't know that, but the sign's in my grandma and grandpa's front yard. So
Yeah, I read that too.
But it's been a big year for us, thanks to that record. So.
Got on the road with Brad Paisley because of this song next year starting. And we're here in Beaumont tonight because of this song. So anyhow, we thank you very, very, very much for making our dreams come true this year. You guys have changed our lives this year. Thank you very much. I already told you, this is our last time in Texas. This is our best Texas crowd ever, too. So thank y'all very much for making this our first #1 record on country radio, y'all. I'm serious, you really made dreams come true with this bad boy.
Streaming from the studio of King of the Road Productions in Beaumont, Texas, Jim King of the radio and TV behind the mic. And as I speak, the TV show is debuting here in Southeast Texas on the CW, first airing on Fridays, 11:30 a.m. Put that on your itinerary. Anyway, you're obviously missing it because you're listening to me, so I'll give you a little snippet of the Jim King of the TV show for this weekend. We're going to close it out with Kylie Fry, fresh off her AGT appearance. She didn't go very far, but she got on the television show, made it past a couple of rounds. Kylie Fry from Opelousas, Louisiana, will close out the show this week, the Jim King of the TV show in the Royal Spotlight. We'll also have Southeast Texas debut of Sawyer Brown's new video as our King's Country music clip of the week from Nashville. We're going to kick it off with the grand conclusion of our Pat Boone exclusive, Part 6 in the grand conclusion. He was very generous with this time. We cover a lot of topics. More talk about Elvis and in the early days of Pat's career. And a story about Beaumont and oil wells from the Pat Boone archives. He'll tell you that. But the second segment, thanks to Tanner West and Texas Construction Resources in Honky Tonk, Texas, is David Ball.
Yes, I admit I got a thinking problem. She's always on my mind. Her memory goes round and round. I tried to quit 1,000 times. Up to the top. I'll start with loving her. Oh, but I don't know when to stop. I'll wake up and right away. Her name is on my lips. Once a memory starts to flow, I can't stop with just one sip. Yes, I admit I got a thinking problem. She's always on my mind. Her memory goes round and round. I tried to quit 1,000 times. Yes, I admit I got a thinking problem. Fill the glass up to the top. I'll start with loving her. Oh, but I don't know when to stop.
Ball, great to see you. The man with the thinking problem is
My
back.
pleasure. Good to be here.
Still got a thinking problem 25 years later?
Yes, I still have the thinking problem, and I don't want to lose the thinking problem. I want to,
We love the thinking problem.
keep that approach to all I do. I like to kind of not know, what I'm doing, see what happens.
25 years ago, Thinking Problem album, a whole handful of hits came out of that, especially Thinking Problem with number 2 song.
Yeah.
And then Riding with Private Malone came along a few years later. I love that tune.
Yes, thank you very much.
Well, I was just out of the service, thumbing through the classifieds, when a night that sad old Chevy somehow caught my eye. The lady didn't know the year or even if it ran, but I had that $1,000 in my hand. It was way back in the corner of this old ramshackle barn, with 30 years of dust and dirt on that green army tarp. When I pulled the cover off, it took away my breath. What she called a Chevy was a 66 Corvette. And I felt a little guilty as I counted out the bills. What a thrill I got when I sat behind the wheel. Opened up a glove box, and that's when I found a note. The date was 1966. This is what he wrote. He said, my name is Private Angel Malone, and if you're reading this and I didn't make it home, but for every dream that shatters, another one comes true. This car was once a dream of mine, now it belongs to you. And though you may take her and make her your own, you'll always be riding with Private Malone.
I was proud to do that song. That was written for all the guys who came out of Vietnam, and it just kind of set it back a little bit. Everybody was so hostile to those soldiers when they fought and, came back to this country. And so I think Malone just kind of, was a nod to those guys because they kind of got a raw deal.
King of the Road.
Here comes this week's Honky Tonk Texas Fabulous Flashback.
Well, I like your hat. I wanted to compliment
I was
you.
going to ask you that because you made a comment 10 years ago. That's the last time we met. You meet so many people you don't remember. But I was wearing this hat. It was a different. It was one of the earlier versions.
Earlier versions, yeah.
It's kind of evolved a little bit.
I thought maybe you'd polished it up or something because it's got some whang to it.
Some new plastic up there. But,
Yeah.
I think the comment you made. I don't know if you remember this.
Okay. What was my comment?
You said, "Well, I think it looks a little funky."
Should not. That doesn't sound like me.
You said, I think you got to go with the hat or just with the crown, but I don't know about the two together.
Now that makes sense.
Yeah.
But since then I've loosened up a lot.
Yeah.
I'm more open to things.
You've seen it all now.
Yeah, I've seen it all. I tell you.
King of the Road.
That was this week's Honky Tonk Texas Fabulous Flashback. Check out David Ball and the Jim King of the TV show this weekend, all the way through Monday on Fox 4, the CW, Strike TV, and YouTube. And thanks for streaming King's Country. Back after these. King's Country, kingscountry.net. Hope Valentine's went well for you. I actually had to work late on Valentine's Day, so I got a makeup date night tonight with Suzanne Simmons. Wednesdays are my late night at work. It's crunch time for King of the Road Productions. I turn in 3 programs, the Jim King of the TV show and 2 church programs every Thursday. But anywho, so I wasn't able to spoil her properly, but I did sneak in the house while she was out shopping and left balloons and flowers and a big card. So I did get some pointers there. Talk about scoring points. Gwen Stefani revealed that her husband, Blake Shelton, got her a massive emerald green ring for Valentine's Day. Here she is on Jimmy Kimmel Live showing off the gift.
I got my Valentine's present early this year.
It looks like you got a few Valentine's presents. Yeah. Does he pick that out, or do you have like some friend that helps?
He really mixed it up. Usually I get amazing flowers, which I love. But this was just here you go. I was like, what? Yeah, he did the whole thing.
All right. Well,
I love you, Frankie!
He did a good job.
King's Country at kingscountry.net. I got to give you a little update on our progress here with technology at King of the Road Productions. Recently entered the Zooming world so that we could zoom off to Nashville and Los Angeles and different locations to visit with singer-songwriters. And we've already got some pretty big interviews under our belt, including Pat Boone, Jessie G recently. Last week, she did a song with Gretchen Wilson, Like My Whiskey, that we played last weekend, and I've got an interview with Emily Faith. She's a rising country star, lovely, talented lady. She was Miss Tulsa. We'll have an interview with her. That's coming up next week. But speaking of Zoom calls, that's a big part of the workplace now. That's why I was kind of resisting it. Got big in during the pandemic, of course. You want to know how to look like you're working when you aren't? Try fake Zooming. Yeah, GitLab posts their internal Zoom call recordings on YouTube, and some have hundreds of thousands of views because people use them to pretend they're working. Here's a quick song parody for you pretenders.
Oh, yes, I'm the great fake Zoomer, pretending to work when I'm not. I just open an old Zoom when my boss is in the room, then back to Amazon when he's not.
King's Country at kingscountry.net. I'm Jim King of the radio behind the wheel, and I promise I will keep it between the ditches. I'm looking over the horizon, and I do see we have the Randy Rogers Band coming up straight ahead, which means time for a fabulous flashback. The time I went on stage here in Beaumont, Texas to introduce them way back in 2006. Hold on tight. Fabulous flashback to 2006 in Beaumont, Texas with the Randy Rogers Band.
The album comes out the 12th of September, the first major national release. Mercury National recording artist, Randy Rogers. It may be wrong, but tonight I'm gonna see those faces.
King of the Road.
King's Country, kingscountry.net. That's Kojo, a.k.a. Cody Johnson, from just down the road in Huntsville, Texas. I'm glad the music business worked out for him, but it hadn't turned out that way. He might have been a rodeo star. He was in the rodeo. It's kind of like Chris Ledoux in the early days. And before that, he was a prison guard. Yep, that's the family business over there in Huntsville, Texas. A lot of prisons in the area. Hey, stay with me. Coming up in the final hour of the Jim King Thing for a TGIF edition, Clay Walker, he's a Beaumont boy. Got Glenn Templeton waiting backstage. Also Chris Stapleton and you. Thanks so much for being here.
Howdy! I'm just so proud to be here.
King's Country, kingscountry.net. Of course, we're coming to you from Beaumont, Texas, in southeast Texas, right on the Texas-Louisiana line, just a few miles down the road, and home of lots of gators. In fact, we got a place called Gator Country. You may have seen them. They had a show for about a year, I think, years ago. It was called Gator 911. Anyway, I know those folks. Speaking of gators, people in Arizona are freaking out and calling 911 over, you guessed it, alligators. Yeah, they're floating around a pond at a park in Mesa, Arizona. Turns out the fake gators are put there purposely so that birds can land and rest on them. Here's a couple of the calls.
I think there's an alligator inside water areas. It's just like kind of hanging out.
There's like 3 live alligators in here. Yeah, there's one under the bridge. I think there's either 2 or 3. Right now I'm looking at one that's just swimming around. It actually bit my boyfriend's fishing line, and we had to cut it.
Streaming from the studio of King of the Road Productions in Beaumont, Texas. Jim King of the radio, behind the mic and the wheel, so to speak. My time to shine on the boob tube. 3 airings tomorrow of the Jim King of the TV show. 5:30 a.m., the CW. 7 p.m., Strike TV. 9:30-ish following local news on Fox 4 tomorrow night. We're going to close it out with Kylie Fry. That name may sound familiar because she was recently on America's Got Talent, AGT. Yes, she was. She made it to the television rounds. She's going to close it out thanks to Glenn's Express Collision. We'll also have the Southeast Texas debut of Sawyer Brown's really cool new track to recognize 40 years in the entertainment business from Sawyer Brown as our King's Country Music Clip of the Week from Nashville. We'll check out David Ball live at Honky Tonk, Texas, the man with the thinking problem. And we'll kick it off with my grand conclusion of an exclusive with the legendary Pat Boone. Here's the audio.
Hey, Ritz, bestest food there is.
2 weeks ago, we kicked off my exclusive with the legendary Pat Boone and zoomed off to Beverly Hills, California.
King of the road.
Last week, Pat reminisced about his friendship with Elvis Presley. Yeah, I hear you were big competitors with Elvis, but actually became good friends, and I think you maybe even went to Graceland a time or two.
I did, not while he was there. My trips to Graceland have been since he left the building. A couple of the times at the annual, commemoration, I guess, of his birthday in August.
Well, you're keeping your legacy alive, and 70 years in the entertainment business now, known for your music, but also you're an author, you're an actor, been in about 12 Hollywood movies. Any writing or acting going on these days?
Oh, yes. Yeah, in fact, I've just done 2 movies, and I die in both of them.
Oh.
One is called The Mulligan, and it's done very well in theaters, but it did not have a big theatrical promotion, but it did well anyway, and it got awards in Canada in their film industry, the Inspirational Film of the Year, and I got Best Actor as a retired golf pro, and it has a gospel theme in it, and it's done very well. And then, of course, I just came from Minneapolis, where I've been playing Thomas Jefferson, our second president, who doubled the size of the United States with the Louisiana Purchase. And that's what it's Michael Medved wrote a book and now a script. I've also done another film I'm not supposed to talk about because it hasn't been publicized, that I have joined a really big cast in a film about a former president who I knew very well, but we haven't publicized the fact that I play a very unusual part in that film. So here I am at 89, and I just broke my hip, and that's why I'm sitting here in this chair right now.
Yeah.
But I'm recovering from it. And on a cane, I went on Mike Huckabee's show a couple of weeks ago and sang Grits and Closer Walk with Thee, although the show ran long in taping, so they haven't put that on yet. But the Red Foley song from this album, Just a Closer Walk with Thee, I did 3 of my father-in-law songs, or was it 4 Foley songs? Old Shep, you remember that great song, Old Shep? The Boy and His Dog. It makes you cry every time you hear it. It's Red Foley wrote it. It was about him and his dog Shep, about a boy having to face the possibility of having to put his boyhood chum away because he's too old to keep living. And that was the first song Elvis ever sang on a stage in high school, was Old Shep, Red Foley's song. So, of course, that's here in my Country Jubilee album. And I cry every time I hear it. It's that kind of a song. If you ever had a pet that you loved, then you'll love Old Shep in this album. But all these songs have histories, and with the artist Hank Williams, I do several Hank Williams songs, Cheating Heart, but we're already putting together a volume 2 of this because I've recorded actually probably more country songs than most country artists that you did nothing but country songs. But I kept doing them for the 70 years of my recording.
Well, you have a lot of fans here in Southeast Texas, where I'm calling you from. We're in the Golden Triangle, Beaumont, Port Arthur, and Orange. We've had our share of country stars from here. In fact, George Jones grew up around here. Tracy Byrd, Mark Chestnut, and Clay Walker. So we have a long legacy of country artists that emerged from here. And when I told people I was going to talk to you, they couldn't believe it. So you're definitely an icon.
Why they were surprised, they couldn't believe it. I've had people say, Pat Boone, I thought you had died.
Well, one person said that. I corrected them, but I mean, speaking to you is like talking to an icon like Willie Nelson or Elvis if he was still alive. I mean, there's not many of you left.
Well, you know that Elvis, I think you probably know, Elvis was my opening act the first time we met.
Yeah, I read that.
In Cleveland at the Sock Hop, and he only had one record on Sun, and it was Blue Moon of Kentucky, Keep On Shining, a Bill Monroe song. Like it was rhythm and blues and didn't quite succeed. But then the other side of the record was That's All Right, Mama, That's All Right With Me. And the kids loved that, but they didn't know who he was. I liked what I heard that night, particularly when he sang the R&B song. But that night, they didn't know who he was, so he got a nice hand. He left the stage. I went on. I had 3 hit singles at that point that I had recorded just that year from March of 55 to October of 55. So I was headlining the Sock Hop. And when he left the stage, I went on. I got all the screams because they knew who I was at that point. And when I came off, he was gone. But the next time we met, we were both renting homes in Bel Air. We were doing movies at 20th Century Fox and adjacent studios. And we were 2 Tennessee boys, me, Nashville, him, Memphis. And we stayed friends, visited each other's homes. In our case, we bought a home and he visited, but he rented them. And so we stayed in touch and involved with each other, the rest of his life. I have a little history with Beaumont. My parents invested in some oil wells in Beaumont when I was just a teenager, and we knew we were going to get oil rich, but it never happened. I don't know what happened, but I've never forgotten Beaumont. Anyway, good to talk to you, man. Congratulations on your success, and I like your crown. You've earned it.
Well, thank you so much, Pat. And I love your hat, and I love your music. I love everything you're doing, and we're just going to keep supporting you here.
Okie doke. I'm going to do King of the Road on the next one.
Thank you, Pat. Let's talk again.
Okay, man. Thanks.
Thank you. Check out Pat Boone kicking off this weekend's Jim King of the TV show, the final installment in our 6th episode of installments of this legendary cat named Pat. Hey, that rhymed. And thanks for streaming King's Country on this TGIF.
Oh, I'm dreaming.
King's Country at kingscountry.net. I guess I did all the damage I can for a TGIF edition. Hope you have a great weekend. Hope you get a chance to catch the Jim King of the TV show. The entire episode is actually on my YouTube channel right now, but don't tell anybody. You keep it between the ditches. Have a good one. I enjoyed myself today. Hope you enjoyed the tunage. There's much more to come. Stay with us 24/7, 365. The most magnificent country music mix on the planet. Later, Gators.